Greetings, my name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor, as well as any student that's interested in this particular point of view. So, just two things today. A quote from Joe and a question: is doing Pilates like brushing your teeth? Now, personally, I hate to be read to, but I don't know how to look at you in the eye and fool you into thinking that I'm looking you in the eye. Joe writes, "The only unchanging rules you must conscientiously obey are that you must always faithfully and without deviation follow the instructions accompanying the exercises, and always keep your mind wholly concentrated on the purpose of the exercises as you perform them. This is vitally important in order for you to gain the results sought. Otherwise, there would be no valid reason for your interest in contrology." Contrology, the name of his book is Return to Life Through Contrology. So why am I telling you this? Why am I sharing that with you? Because it's really important. Joe says this is vitally important because if you're after the results sought, how do you say it? This is vitally important in order for you to gain the results sought. Otherwise, there'd be no valid reason for your interest in contrology. So, vitally important in order for you to gain the results sought. So see, what are the results that are sought? And right off the bat, I would take my direction from, or orientation from, what Joe called his book, right? Return to Life Through Contrology. And I would hold it up for you to look at. But the camera doesn't like a lot of data stream changes. You know, too much info too fast. Return to Life Through Contrology. So the result sought, in a way, you're after control. And insofar as you're after connection. And by connection, I mean the feedback loop that is inherent in Pilates, in that the teacher stands in for the student until the student can stand in for themselves in participating in the observation of the sensation that comes in off of the effort, off of the movement. I'm getting off track here. Not off track, but the feedback loop. If there is a purpose to the exercise that you stay wholly concentrated on, so what is the purpose? Control is one thing, as I said. Connection to what was I making the point of? Being a part of the feedback loop. Listening to your senses and have that feed into how you exert your control of the effort. and the purpose of the exercise. From my point of view, it's all my point of view, right? But other than control and a connection to the connection of being, thinking, and observing, right? That connection to observing. What better or bigger connection is there? And then in terms of what you observe in the physics and the world that you're in is alignment. Okay, alignment. And so the purpose of the exercises is the purpose of the exercises is to engage ideally in Joe's poem, to recite Joe's poem, and do it in complete coordination of your being, thinking, and observing. Anything gets boring if it's mindless doing. That's what I got to explain here on YouTube yesterday, that Facebook never saw it because my data stream broke and I didn't have it in me to pursue it. But here on YouTube I got out the comment about what? Now I got all that preamble. About it's tough to only be focused on the doing, because if it's mindless doing, that gets boring. And it breaks into thinking, which is usually what talking is, both projected and meant to be received. So, I think doing Pilates is in some way a noble pursuit, or it's a pure pursuit, insofar as, from within the MMP point of view, it has an essence of its own. It's a fundamental, profound reaction to the reality that the human being finds itself in. And a reaction of being, I'd better prepare for what comes next, because usually experience shows you that if you don't prepare for it, it might set you back, or you might not survive. Talking about arrows, you know what you aim for? Contrology. And why contrology? Well, it's the name of Joe's book. And in the spirit of what? Controlling what? See? It's about the human being exercising control to survive. And, of course, if you're an idealist, perhaps, what you would pursue is what you perceive to be ideal. I don't know, I don't mean to be speaking for Joe's work, speaking for the intent behind Joe's work. Only that Joe's work shows intention. And in the MMP point of view, a fundamental perspective of that view is that Joseph Pilates, as a human being, was a survivor. And his method is survival training, conditioning. And that takes me to my number 2. And I've only got 2 things today. And that's the question is doing Pilates like brushing your teeth? Is doing Pilates like brushing your teeth? Right? The ones that you have. Well, in the title, I wanted to add yes and no. Because to me, I think of brushing your teeth, you do that regularly. You do it as a routine. And if you're lucky, you learn it and maintain that routine from an early age. Because if you don't, your teeth fall apart. And Pilates is the same way in that if you don't do it, your body falls apart. Well, you fall apart. See, I didn't want to make it just your body. You as a human being. You and your capacities of being, thinking, and observing. And you might say that's your human beingness. So in the routine of brushing your teeth, there is, yes, the routine of doing Pilates. But I think no, in the sense that it's not just brushing your teeth that matters when it comes to Pilates and doing the routine. It's how you do the routine that matters. It's the way in which you approach it or pursue it that matters. And for me, I would say that's in the pursuit of coordinating your being, thinking, and observing. So it's not something you tune out to and ignore while you do. Often I'm in a workshop setting where far away in another glassed-in area are people on exercise bikes watching television. And see, for me, the spirit in Pilates is they wouldn't even be looking at the television. They'd be so into how they were doing in the effort and the feedback that was coming out of the effort. And I said, no way else. It's not subjective. And the quality of the effort is more precise than how you brush your teeth. How you brush your teeth can be a little subjective in terms of what you do and how you do it. But in Pilates, you strive for the expression of the ideal within. Within MMP's point of view, you reach for the ideal. And you do that sensationally. You do that having to listen. You do that having to have your observing coordinate with your thinking and your being to express the conditioning within the poem. So, in one word, Pilates is exercise. And that immediately lets a person frame it in their mind and whether they're interested or not. And if they're not, gives you an easy out to not having to say more than one word about what it is. Allowing someone a graceful segue into whatever else they're interested in. No, come on, what is it? Well, okay, in 2 words, it's corrective exercise. And right there you establish magic. Because what is the corrective feedback loop? Sure, it's the instructor saying, do this or do that, but ultimately, it's the student that has to listen to their own sensation and and be observing to coordinate their being and their thinking with that. And so MMP Pilates is always going to be a very narrow slice of the spectrum of Pilates and improvisations, interpretations, whatever you make of it and however you make of it. MMP makes of Pilates, that word, one specific perspective out of 10,000. Thousand. The clarity of your understanding of what it is determines the dimension that in which you can embrace it in. And maybe it's easier said than done, but and knowing that, well, anytime you play Yoda and you send your client deeper into the cave of their own sensation and ask their observing to coordinate with their thinking and being to accomplish more control, if you know something better than that, be sure to let me know. Go deeper, ask for more depth, or take a person to more articulation to engage their thinking in understanding a purpose that's sensational. Huh? See, Pilates really does do its own filtering, right? The higher you go and the higher, depending on what you mean by higher, just the people that do their own thinking and read between the lines and see behind the curtain, the ones who have their own point of view and are there from their willingness to look through that point of view, those usually are resonant to the MMP point of view because it's sensational and it's oriented toward one's own perception. And we got into this on the corrective feedback loop thing. In 2 words, Pilates is corrective exercise. And that corrective loop is one that requires observing. And so as an instructor, really, you're going to survive as a Pilates instructor. Your instructors, from the MMP point of view, are geared toward giving red meat to your student, meaning something that's meaty and full of, maybe just rich protein, I should have said, but something that's significant in terms of protein and value and digestible, maybe not, depending on your diet. Red meat, politically correct, it's going to kill me. It's the ball to the dog that wants to chase the ball. At any level of capacity within the human being in front of you, within the MMP point of view, the only ball, the best ball, is complete coordination of being, thinking, and observing. And the instructor recognizes those capacities within a human being, and however indirect and unconfrontational, and without needing to explain intellectually at all, being invisible, but knowing that you're there in pursuit of a poem. That's a good title. In pursuit of a poem. In pursuit of a poem, because life can't live forever. Read between the lines and see behind the curtain, and add two and two, and direct your own thinking. Geist.